As the audio, yes. So we are consciousness. Uh, we are consciousness. So that is the topic this teacher takes up logically, without any discussion on the God or religion or image or mantra, but the way we follow the process. And now you all have understood the Mangala Charan. So we are using another mantra for Mangala Charan. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadai Purnameva Vashishyate. That is infinite, hence this is also infinite. So the water and the waves, just see the water is infinite, hence the wave is also infinite. But that infinity cannot be understood if the mind perceives through the sense organ. So that is why in all meditation we close our eyes. So when the mind picks up the objects through the sense organ, it will always be limited. But can I raise my awareness while looking at the wave? I see the water. So that is infinite and this is also infinite. See that? In the presence of the sunlight, I see you. How? Objects, sense organ. But I see the light is all pervading. Because of this light, I see you. So that is infinite, and this is also infinite. That is why I have chosen this Shanti mantra. It has to be. So the second line of the mantra is that the infinite proceeds from the infinite. Simple. So it means I have to rise in awareness in order to realize and recognize that reality. If I don't recognize that reality, or you can say, just think, ask the question, can I recognize and realize the reality through the sense organs? Answer is no, the sense organs are limited. It is so much limited, consciousness inside is the same. Or just for example, take mind behind the sense organ are the same. It is the same. But when the mind goes through the eyes, it only recognizes the form and the color. It does not hear anything. How limited it is. Same way, the ears can only hear the sound. But it does not have the ability or the capacity to recognize the form. The same thing with all the five sense organs. So see that how limited perception has the utility to live in the transactional world. It has its utility, but it is not the end. It is not that. How do you say to any person that he is good? Does any sense organ perceives that you are good or bad? It is the mind. And behind that mind, there is again a consciousness. So the third line of this mantra says, taking the infinitude of the infinite. Purnasya Purnamadaya. That is what we are exploring. Taking the infinitude of the infinite universe. So you take that infinitude, you take that infinity from the wave. No, it is water. It is water. beautiful house. No, it is basically the space. It is that understanding uh, that will help us to realize that real self, which is of the nature of pure consciousness. So you see what he says, that you take that infinity from the wave, it remains as the infinite alone. Still, that infinite consciousness, that all pervading consciousness, continues to remain one, eternal, all pervading. Eternal means that transcends the time. Om Shanti 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 Shanti. So let us now, today, we will go to all the verses we have been understanding, and then we will raise a question of doubt, and then we will remove the doubt from the verse number 11. So just take that. Do you apply the knowledge? But the first thing, that do I apply the knowledge daily in my life? If yes, then we do not need to practice. If no, I need to practice daily. I need to practice daily. And what is that practice? I discussed that Mangalacharan, listening and learning these principles, contemplation and reflection, plus follows the practice. I already discussed that as you continue the practice, the knowledge removes the doubt in the mind, and then your duration of the practice starts dropping, because you are already living into that knowledge. Living into that knowledge means you are aware of it. That is what is the meaning, living in a moment. And gradually what happens, that you don't need to do any practice. You already recognize it. And in that respect, we discussed in detail knowledge of an object. I'm reminding you, or object of knowledge. Object and of knowledge of light, I can instantly recognize that light is all pervading. But if it is a knowledge of an object, it is only my hand. Who is looking at the hand, the sense organ? So my mind is now limited. It is present here. That all pervading light is already present here, but the mind limits it. And when the mind limits it, due to that limitation, we experience challenges, pain, problem. Otherwise, there is a choiceless awareness. So, what is that realization? The world continues to change. Our perception towards the world has changed. Perception towards these objects have changed. I gave you an example. Wave. Can I see that infinity in that wave? I see the water in the wave. So there is always a simultaneous awareness. I have to address, oh, this is a wave. I have to address, here is a David, here is Jerry, here is Stephen. But at the same time, your perception, inner perception, is that it is all one. It is all one. And in that state of oneness, we recognize, we awaken to our real self. Just for a while, and then we will go to these verses again. That what challenges to the mind, life, relationship, profession pose if we do not follow the principles and practices of this Eastern wisdom. Look at the mind, mental turmoil. It results into excessive thinking, confusion about the purpose of life. Are you getting it? Confusion. There's always a confusion. I loved you so much 10 years ago, but now you have changed a lot. You see, mental thinking, limited perception. So the master says these kind of suffering, which is unnecessary, not required, simply drops because your perception has changed. Inability. So because you have lot of thoughts and feeling and emotions, which is guided by the pain and the pleasure, likes and dislikes, you continue to have the mental turmoil. You have an inability to focus. You have a clouded judgment between the real and the unreal. You have an attachment. So majority of the people do not want to understand why I have this attachment mental turmoil. And once I change my perception, the event and situation will undergo a change later, but I continue to have a level of peace and calmness. The same thing with the life. General dissatisfaction and suffering continues in our life because of the same perception. I used to tell, yesterday I was talking, so is there a life? Yes. Without life, can I experience pleasure? No, but the life comes with the death follows. There is a life, there is a death. Life cannot exist without death. So my limited perception holds on to what is not, what is, what will cause the problem. It holds on to the death, it holds on to the pain. I know every pleasure is nothing but a contact of these five sense organs with an object. But that contact cannot be maintained 24 by 7. Hence, there is a pain, there is a fear, there is a likes and dislikes. You see that? As long as I live, I have to experience heat and the cold, both, whether I like it or not. I'm laying a foundation for other verses. So general dissatisfaction in relationship, because of this, we have lot of challenges in the relationship. Interpersonal conflict is there, disagreement is there, misunderstanding is there. And because of this, there is a lack of empathy, compassion, inability to experience the unity and the love. Because my love becomes only an attachment. Pleasure seeking means. Even in the profession, we have a lot of suffering. You can just count on it. Do you remember coming to the verses? What do you remember? One experience, not many experiences. One experience of the consciousness is inside. Many experiences, many objects are outside. I continue to address you as a Dennis, as a Stephen, as Jerry and David, but at the same time, I see there is only one experience. How easy it is to understand and live into that awareness. And how easy when I live in ignorance, I live with variety of objects, so variety of experiences. So the comparison starts, the duality starts, and the conflict starts. And I miss the continuity of the consciousness behind all the objects and all the experiences. I miss it. Consciousness is common. What I discussed, object of knowledge or knowledge of object. Look at this, how easy it is to pick up. And anytime you are frustrated, or angry, or agitated, or reacting, just look at it. It is an object of knowledge or knowledge of an object. And you will see, oh, what you will see, it is the mind that is causing the conflict in my life, but it is only one experience which is happening behind the mind. The mind has created these likes and dislikes. So, what will happen? You can deal with the situation much better, successfully, whether it's a personal life or professional life, relating. So, you see that there's a continuity of the consciousness when we understand, and the variety of objects and variety of experiences, they come and go. What is that we understand? Independence of the consciousness. We we had a flash, like the water is independent of the waves. The waves depend on the water. Water does not depend on the wave. I, is a real self, is independent of everything in the world. I have a sense of freedom. But if I'm limited, then I am dependent. My body, my mind, my mental perception, my sensual perception depends on that consciousness. Wave depend on the same consciousness. So what the master is saying, that there is an illusion of multiplicity. You have to get rid of this multiplicity in order to recognize your real self. Get rid of this multiplicity. Why there's a multiplicity? I like Dennis, I don't like Stephen. Multiplicity comes, comparison comes. How it comes? Because of the many, I see knowledge of many objects. Knowledge of many objects. Understand, pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. So there is a primary consciousness, unchanging, uncreated, unchanging nature of the consciousness. One thing, it is uncreated. Second is it independence of the consciousness, like independence of the space, independence of the water, a lot of other stuff. So now look at each verse so that you remember, and from there we go deeper into it. I have already explained you that consciousness has three parts. The Sat. It is not parts, but for the sake of understanding, they are exactly one. It cannot be separated. Sat, Chit, Anand. Sat means the existence. The self exists continuously through all the states of experiences. What are three states of experiences? Waking, dream, deep sleep. It persists beyond the life in the body. It persists beyond all the waves in the ocean. It persists beyond my young age, my birth, old age, in the death. That consciousness is I am. That is what we are talking about, the existence. Then we talk about the consciousness. It is the same existence which is of the nature of consciousness. So it is, you can say it is not a part, it is an attribute. So the consciousness is a constant factor in all my experiences. It is not a property of objects or thought. It is independent. You can contemplate and reflect. What is true? I think, therefore I am, or I am, therefore I think. I am. And that I am, that amness contains both existence and the consciousness, awareness. Look at it. But then this master says, no, there is another thing. This I am is of the nature of bliss. Bliss means continued state of happiness. I eat pasta, I get a pleasure as long as the taste buds are in contact with the pasta. After 15 minutes, the pleasure is gone. I extend that pleasure falsely. How? Should I tell you? So your waiter approaches because you are totally feeling a full satisfaction after 15 minutes. You give more tip to that guy. You are extending that pleasure, but pleasure is not there. Think of it. I'll tell you. Do you see our master's approaches? No, now you are driving. Your mind says waiter is good, table was good, pasta is good. I will come back again. You are extending that pleasure. That happens with every object. Oh, this LG product is good. I will always buy LG product. Look at it. But the master says behind that, that existence and the consciousness is of the nature of permanent happiness. There is no contact is required. It continues to live into that state of consciousness. Consciousness is of the nature. That is why I always, you might have heard, the real self is of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. I expanded it further to help. It's easy to understand. So the master, now look at the verse in their translation, so that seventh verse, the master says, what the master is saying, that through the what you have been experiencing, objects of knowledge, existence, consciousness, and bliss, not only every day, weeks, months, years. So he is just making us aware that I lived a life of 65 or 66 years, and what has been changing? The body has been changing, the three states, the waking, dream, and the sleep. I almost every day they have been changing. But what remains constant is you. That is consciousness. That is existence, consciousness, and bliss. But then there is another challenge. He solves that challenge. How he solves? He says that this consciousness is self-effulgent. Where is the meaning of this self-effulgent? It has its own light. It has its own awareness. So it means the consciousness is not present in the mind. The mind is just a matter. So the self knows the self by the self. So that is what. So now he also compares beautifully what he says, that unlike the sun, it neither rises nor sets. It is present in the sleep, it is present in the dream, it is present in the waking state. Don't say that it rises and sets. It neither rises nor sets. Nor sets. That is the word, seventh verse of understanding. First verse, first line, it says in months, years, and ages, the word cycle continues to change because it is created. What is created has a birth and a death. So when I say this body, mind, has a birth in the death, but I'm not the body and the mind. How how good we feel even listening to this. I'm not the body and the mind. And this is the fact. This is the truth. That is what we are going to discover, that I'm the consciousness. So what he says that in months, years, ages, in the world, cycles, in the past, in the future, in many ways, you go on understanding. You put logic, master says, what happens? That consciousness is neither rises nor sets. It remains all the time. In deep sleep, the mind is not active. Consciousness has to manifest through the mind, but it is still there. That is why I wake up. Otherwise, there is no question of, we have already discussed that, but I'm just going as it is. I'm translating the verse. So neither rises. Then the master says the beauty of this, that this consciousness is self-luminous. That real self is self-luminous. Self-luminous means that there is a lamp, and without electric current, the lamp is giving me the light. That is the meaning of the self-luminous. I don't know how for the first time he recognized, he realized, and that is why he has written. It's something amazing that he passes on that knowledge. Now look at the eighth verse. Eighth verse says, what the eighth verse says? The self is the supreme bliss. He directly comes to the topic. He says that real self is of the nature of supreme bliss. I have already made a differentiation between a pleasure. By giving example of the pasta and the waiter, I want to extend that pleasure. You say, no, I'm very lazy. I wake up. No, I wake up, I'm awake, but still I keep lying on the bed. Why? Pleasure seeking. Touch. Think. Think of that in that reference. So when I'm lazy, I lose my awareness. I cannot live in a moment. I'm just giving you. So that the master says, no, those people who are lazy cannot do the self-discovery. And then they give you a lot of explanations. It is tamasic guna and etc. Come back. The master says this self is the supreme happiness. It is because it is the object of the highest love. Where is the object of the highest love? Real self. How simple it is to understand. First, the mind says, I like you, and then I say, I love you. If the mind says, I dislike you, I hate you, I cannot love you. How simple it is. So because I dislike you, hence I do not love you. For whom? For myself. So the object of the love is the real self. It is always in my mind. It is always in the mind of everyone. You have a pet dog and you start showing some aggression, disliking. So you show some aggression, still the dog licks you? Not possible. Leave it. Understand it clearly. Not possible. So what the master is pointing out, that the object of the highest love is that real self. So when I say I love you, it is because of myself. Look at the fourth part of the verse. The first part of the verse, it will help you understand. First part, it says the self is supreme happiness, supreme, because it is the object of highest love. It is the object. Through the mind we are analyzing. It is the object of the highest love. Where? Or that highest love is here. There comes the master says, may I never cease to be. May I exist forever. We have a dating and then we get married. We are living for 20 years, and after 20 years, yes, now the time has come, enough is enough, I'm divorcing. Can you divorce yourself? Can you say, may I cease to be? No. That is the object of the ultimate love. May I exist forever. So what the master is saying, may I never cease to be? No. May I exist forever? Yes. In spite of lot of challenges, I'm struggling with a disease. What the master is proving, object of the highest love. Are you getting it? Object of the highest love. Consciously, unconsciously, habitually, I love myself the most. And from that perspective, I see the object, I see the people, I see the relationship internally. So once I recognize it, the master says, so it means what? Then the master says that proves the real self is of the nature of absolute love. He proves it. But we have a lot of doubts. So he is going to address those doubts. So that is the 8th verse and the 9th verse. Then ninth verse, he says that love for others is for the sake of the self. He says you have to think of it. You have to contemplate and reflect. He has proved that object of the highest love is the real self, and I am the real self. I am that consciousness. Now he wants to prove there is no religion, cult, dogma, mantra. He says in the 9th verse, love for others is for the sake of the self. I gave you one example. Is it possible I hate you and still I love you? You are harming me. Still I will say I love you. Do you see that? So it means the love for others is for the sake of the self. That he says in the first line. But then he throws this thought, just thought. This is what we are passing on the knowledge, but not thus for others' sake is the self. It is not for others' sake. So when I express that I love you, I care you, it is false. We will understand that. We will understand that later. But my expression that I love you, I care you, it is because of that real self. So he has raised it out. But not thus for others' sake is the self loved. What is the meaning? The self is not loved for the sake of anything else in the world. Anything else in the world. Look at your pet. You show the aggression. It's a proof. What about we human beings? So, second line, the self is not loved for the sake of anything. Then the third line, therefore, that love for the self is the supreme. So when there is a love for the self is the supreme, it means that is the object of the highest love. Which one? Real self, not the body and the. I meet with an accident. I'm in the hospital. Pay attention. I'm just proving the point. That happens almost every day with a lot of people. Doctor comes and says that, no, I have to ampute your right leg. No possible. Do it. Why I do it? I love the real self more than the body. Do you see that? I love myself. That real self is different from the body. So therefore, love for the self is the supreme. What it means, the love for the self is the highest form of the love. Then in the fourth line, this proves that the nature of the self is the supreme bliss. I'm of the nature of consciousness, I'm of the nature of consciousness, and I'm of the nature of existence, and I'm of the nature of love. That is what I have been explaining in the previous sessions. So that I thought it better to that you should directly understand. So now the 10th part of this 10th verse. The 10th verse says, thus it is established. Look at it. He's a mathematician. He's not a spiritual master. He says, thus it is established by reasoning. He specifically says, by reasoning. So your mind becomes free from religion, dogma, mantra, etc., etc. All the information that is fed in our mind since our birth by the religion, dogma, belief is already gone. It is established by reasoning that the self is of the nature of existence, consciousness, and bliss. I am. But still, when you wake up in the morning and body has a pain, whereas then I have a pain. I lose that awareness because our mind has been heavily trained since our birth. We take it for granted that I'm the body and the mind. And that is why the journey should continue, should go on until we reach to that point. So the first line of this 10th verse, thus he says it is established by reasoning that the self is of the nature of existence, consciousness, and bliss. What is this? So he gives another name, and that is very common in our Eastern wisdom. So whether you say it is existence, consciousness, bliss, or you say SatChitAnanda, that is a Sanskrit name, or you simply say the supreme Brahman. Brahman has nothing to do with the cause. Supreme Brahm. We use the word Brahma. What is the meaning of the Brahm? Brahm means extension, expansion, infinity. That is the literal meaning. Third line, he says the identity of these two is taught in the entire Eastern wisdom. Are you confused? Identity. This individual feels that I'm the body and the mind, and I have a lot of negative and the positive emotions, my personality and behavior. This individual. And that real self is inside. I'm just, translating what it says. The identity of these two is understood, is realized, is taught in the entire Eastern West. Whether it's a Buddhism or Jainism, mindfulness or meditation or kundalini or yoga. Did you get it? Simply, The entire journey, that this individual self is in stress. Come on, let you merge. This is a wave. Let you merge with the water. And then I will ask. That is what is taught in variety of ways, in thousands of practices, where in the entire Eastern wisdom. You understand it directly, done. You need not to go to the mantras and other kundalini awakening, and then you fall into hallucinations. No, that is not required. Master says that is what is taught. Be very clear. Master says you have to be 100% clear. It is established by reasoning. By reasoning means cause and effect relationship. What? Oh, I have understood that I'm of the nature of existence, consciousness, and bliss. The same pasta makes you smile on one day, and the same pasta makes you crazy on the other day. Pleasure is not there outside. Same honey, same object, same pet. Go ahead, continue. What it proves, object of knowledge or knowledge of object. Do you see that? One day you say, okay, I have understood this beer guy today was not an exciting talk. Are you looking for an excitement or are you looking for a knowledge? But the mind overpowers. You see that? So the master says it is established without any established by reasoning. The self is of the nature of consciousness, exists in consciousness and bliss. So he says that there is another name for it, Supreme Brahman. The word Brahman means it has no end, it has no beginning, means uncreated. The Brahman is also the meaning real self, another meaning of the real self. I say the real self inside this body mind complex. I say the supreme self in the body of the entire universe. So that is known as the Supreme Brahman. We will talk about it. But the beauty, what he says, the identity of the two is taught in the entire Eastern. Identity. What is that identity? Wave. You are the real self. That is the identity. But in Kundalini meditation, the people, when they live at a lower level of the consciousness, they do not understand it. Then what they say? Oh, we will merge. Here is a Shiva and there is a Shakti. We are lifting your energy. So they don't use the word identity. We say we will merge individual consciousness with the supreme consciousness. Do you merge the wave with the water? Look at it. This is the highest teaching. Do you really merge with the do you merge this house with this space? So that is why we did almost many sessions on 360-degree understanding. Once we don't do with that 360-degree understanding, the intellect is not ready, and then it becomes a big challenge. Close your eyes. Eyes are closed. Eyes are closed. Why I say eyes are closed, I told you it's a symbolic expression that I'm saying goodbye to. I'm saying goodbye to all the sense organs which enjoys its favorite objects when they come in contact. It's more of a mental awareness. But I still have a touch with the clothes. So take it that touch with my clothes that I'm wearing on help me settle. And that is how I explain the place, the position, and the posture. Or you link all the principles, just yes, principles are always the same. So, yeah, just aware, yes. Let us go for a interesting journey. So, yes, yes. Are you aware? Yes. What you're aware? Am I aware of the body? Yes. When you will become body of awareness, you are aware of the body. So, body of awareness, many bodies, one awareness. I'm thinking, it just prompted me, my mind prompted me to take you to that journey. So, are you aware of the eyes? Yes, I'm aware of the eyes and eyes of awareness. So when you have the eyes of awareness, your mind is not jumping around. It says, "Oh, everyone is doing the same what I'm doing." It does not go outside. You see the difference between the two logically, by understanding, by knowledge. So, what exactly if I say so, even though it is a non practice, but if I say it, even if it is a practice, what is the practice? Awareness of any object, any experience, or just the opposite. When you have a body of awareness, objective knowledge, when you have an objective awareness, can you show me the attachment? Can you show me your mind is jumping and distracted? It cannot, because it is aware of the all pervading sunlight. It is all pervading awareness. It does not have a limited perception. And when it does not have a limited perception, if it has a limited, then only it will jump to the other objects. Objects of conscious, objects of knowledge, objects of awareness. Simple. But our deeply ingrained past impressions return with a great force. What is that force? Ignorance. As we have a power of knowledge, we also have a power of ignorance. The mind forces you to travel another route. The mind forces you to take a ramp awareness of object. And that object may be anything, any past impression, maybe 10 years ago, maybe just what happened yesterday. Another tool masters have given us: observer and observed. Another, in another phrase, it is known as the knower and the known, the seer and the seen. Look at it. The masters have discovered the principle like this. From where? Objects of knowledge. So, do you recognize the knowledge or awareness or consciousness continues like consciousness is like a sky? I gave you that example. The birds are flying. Where? In the sky. But if it is flying in the sky, then it should change the sky. No, it cannot. It does not. Do you see? You need not to worry about your stillness of the body. It comes on its own. Do you see that? So even after understanding, the mind returns to its habit of experiencing the thing and action and the thought, and it falls into ignorance. Why we say ignorance? While looking at the wave, the water is also there. I don't recognize it. I don't realize it. Oh, yes. Same way the real self is always present, here and now. Mind says what practice I will do. What it means? That just now I don't realize the real self which is already present. So after the practice, I will realize it. So my mind plays a trick and it says, I will play with the time, whereas the real self is timeless. Do you see that? Oh, it's a timeless, yes. How you can recognize and realize anything that is timeless in time. So again, it goes back to a knowledge of objects or object of knowledge. Well, you can just body of awareness or awareness of the body. You see how beautifully this great master. So that is why we say that you don't need to practice, you need to understand. It is not the love of honey, it is the honey of love. So you may think during the day and then become aware. We have to use that thought. And after that, the thought dissolves. If you say it is a practice, then it is a practice. There is a wave, yes. Wave is there in the water, yes. I'm aware of the wave. No, there is a wave of awareness. The wave of that awareness helps me to recognize and realize the wave is nothing but the water. Are you getting it? Wave is nothing but the water. And if wave is nothing but the water, do I compare one wave with the other? No. My perspective has changed. Oh, so when your perspective has changed, your perception has changed, that is known as compassion in Buddhism. You, you cannot practice compassion. Come on. So, one wave of awareness, all the waves of awareness. So, you have a sense of equality. You love the water, so hence you love the waves. That is compassion. And what we do in daily life, I love you, I hate you, I like you, I dislike you. Another way to be with the knowledge and understanding during the day and living into that state is what the realization is awakening. So we are continuity. We have a continuity, how to phrase it. We are consciousness, uncreated and permanent happiness. Where is in uncreated? We'll continue. Mm. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside the palms. We'll share our experiences today. We'll share our experiences with David and Jerry. They have to leave, yes.
Sorry, I missed
And
the
I saw Jerry is pointing you, yes.
there was lots of little I love the Saturday because it's a different sort of perspective on the week and life. And for me, it brought in or brought up just this relationship with my consciousness and myself, and the relationship of my consciousness with the real world. And so it became very powerful. And going through the the meditation portion, I just feel this overwhelmingness of infinitism, if that's a word. So I don't know how to describe it. It was it's subtle but powerful.
Yes, he's right. The same with the author is very powerful by saying that identity between the individual consciousness and the real self. And it also it all overwhelms. And it says, no, I need not to merge anything with anything. That is what we study in other school of thought in the Eastern wisdom. Oh, I have to merge individual consciousness. We always define yoga as a union. But what unites with what? That is beautifully explained. Thank you. How are you, Jay?
Sir, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, lots of pearls and different ways to look the Brahman as the non-created supreme self, and that identity, the real self, and then the supreme self is same. And I for me, the takeaway is really simple when we go, oh, the seer and the seen. Well, I'm not the seen. And the observer and the observed. Well, we're not the observed. And I am, therefore I think.
Yep.
And if we reverse it, that doesn't work.
That doesn't work. You're right. You see, that every master has evolved. So some people get the idea of identity. Other people, their mind is very aware and alert with the seer and the seen, observer and the observer. So we pick up anything, any which appears, and we are settled there. Beautiful. Very good. How are you, uh, Dennis?
Thank you. Interesting lesson and a lot to think about and to contemplate. But I was towards the end of the meditation, I was focusing on this statement that the real self knows the real self by the real self, and I was trying to figure out how to understand it in the context of this transactional world. And what came to me in the course of contemplation is that this real self manifested as eyes looks at the real self that is manifested as an object. So
Good.
to the eyes, it appears that they look at an object. But in fact, what happens is that the real self actually looks at the real self. So this understanding kind of helped me to realize that this phrase, the real self knows the real self by real self, is not an abstract one. It is very much applicable
Very,
to our transactional reality.
Dennis, you have explained beautifully what is the meaning of third eye. In the third eye, it is only a perception, the right perception. That is what the Buddha says in its first noble path. If I don't name an object, still the perception is. Perception is. So in that perception, I see the real self knows the self by itself. Ocean, the water is everywhere. Many waves. One wave is looking at the other wave and also the water. Same thing. Beautiful. Yeah, that's really good. How are you, Brandy? Then we'll go to Steve. Steven, yes.
I'm good, thank you. I was kind of reflecting on my response to the fluctuations of the things outside of me. Let me know that they're not me. And I love that. Like, you're right. Like, sometimes my cat's really sweet to me. I love her. Sometimes she's like, scratch me or whatever, and that makes me mad because I don't want to be scratched. And I mean, I'll always care for my pet, but the fluctuation in my response to her or whatever lets me know that it's not the consistent thing, that it's not the real self.
So when I react, it is the knowledge of an object. When I don't react, I maintain my awareness. It is the object of knowledge. That is another way. It is the same thing with the seer and the seen. It is the same thing with the knower and the known. And it is the same thing what the Dennis is asking. The real self knows the real self. So you are not looking at your pet. You are looking at the consciousness inside the pet, which is manifesting as a pet. The water is manifesting as a way. And that there you get the third eye. Yes, Stephen, thank you. Brandy, yes.
Thank you, sir. Great lesson. And Dennis, thank you, because I walked away with the same self knows that, knows itself through the self. And I was like, that's very deep. And there's a lot of thoughts that need to go into that. And I will re-listen to Dennis's explanation on that. What stirred me in this was the looking at things from an infinite perspective as opposed to them from limitations, and being able to address different things. And that's what just kept popping back and forth, like you were talking about the waves in the water. And I kept going, well, an individual wave has an end, but the water doesn't.
What?
So I kept going back through that, and then I said, if we identify with the body, we're creating limitations. Therefore, that can't be part of the real self. And then going over in my mind the fact that existence, consciousness, and bliss is infinite. Real self has to be infinite. Therefore, I have to live into the things that are infinite and recognize the limitations. And it just stirred this constant conversation in myself of everything that's gone on throughout this week, not going back further, of does that happen because of limitations that were created from it? Was it the perceptions? And it really gave a lot of clarity, and I'll continue to go through that. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Ask the sun, how you look me and how you look Brandy. For example, it will be a good example. Why it will be a good example? I have lot of beard and the sun says, no, I don't like you. And Brandy is beautiful. Sun says that she is beautiful. Does the sun says? And if the sun says, then sun is also a body-mind complex. It is not a consciousness. It is spreading equally to everyone. It is my understanding that this is big and this is small. This is rich and this is not. This is male, this is female. That does not. And that is what the real self is. That is where we find the third eye. How are you, Terry?
I was thank you for the lesson and the opportunity of the knowledge. And I'm wondering how it is that the real self has attributes, several, and yet it is not a duality.
Yes.
So I couldn't figure out how to explain that to myself. But
Very easy to see. Mind, sense organ creates a duality. You have to look behind the mind in the sense organ. How do I see you? Through my eyes.
mhm,
And then what is behind the eyes? Mind. So the mind has created a limitation that you are Terry, you are not Brandy, you are not Dennis. So I hold the mind and I say, drop the name, drop the form. Still, I'm aware of you.
mhm,
Even after dropping the name and the form, I'm still aware of you. What is this awareness?
existence,
Conscious
consciousness.
and play.
But aren't those three different attributes, or are they one?
Oh, you're asking me there are 5 waves in the water. They are different?
Um, no, but I don't know. I'm thinking it, but I don't know really what it is.
This is the thing. We are all 5 waves. 5 people are here in a session. The 5 waves are different. The moment
But
I,
existence
the
and
moment,
bliss are two different attributes, but
the moment I see, they are different because of the name and the form. From where the name and the form has come? From the mind and the sense organs. How come the mind
those
has?
are names. Yeah, they're names.
Yes, name and the form.
Okay.
Yes, it's a good thought thinking. That is all for today. We'll meet again. Thank you very much.